Very good morning. This is Vigneshwaran. Previous year UPSC question paper discussion நம்ம 2017 GS paper 1 ஓட discussion program பண்ண போறோம். GS ல என்னென்ன இருக்கு அப்படின்னு பார்க்கணும். GS 1 ல என்னென்ன இருக்கு அப்படின்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆர்ட் அண்ட் கல்ச்சர் இருக்கு, அப்புறம் மாடர்ன் இந்தியா இருக்கு, வேர்ல்டு ஹிஸ்டரி இருக்கு, போஸ்ட் இண்டிபெண்டன்ஸ் கன்சல்டேஷன் இருக்கு, ஜியோகிராஃபி இருக்கு, சொசைட்டி இருக்கு. இதெல்லாம் சேர்ந்ததுதான் பேப்பர் 1. இந்த பேப்பர் 1ல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பார்ட் நம்ம பார்க்கலாம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்க அப்படிங்கறத பாருங்க. First, how do you justify the view that the level of excellence of the Gupta numismatic art is not at all the noticeable in later times? அப்படின்னு கேட்டிருக்காங்க. numismatics அப்படின்னா காயினேஜ்னு சொல்லுவோம். இந்த காயினேஜ் பத்தி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Gupta coins are among the most remarkably detailed coins from the ancient India, featuring exquisite artistic details. They stand out from coins crafted during the reign of the other dynasties and the following counts. Achievements of the remarkable craftsmanship was evident by the thickness of this variety of the images carved on both faces of the coin and its smooth and even wedges. Detailed carving ranged from Chandragupta riding a horse to Samudragupta playing a veena and goddess Lakshmi to sacrificial horse of for the Ashwamedha ceremony and so on. Apart from these detailed images, there were inscriptions as well, often adding details of the image inscribed on the coin. Also, most of the important kings of Gupta dynasty are now believed to have had multiple coin types during the course of their reign, in which older designs were dropped and newer motifs were adapted. Scholars have pointed out that such designs were made possible by the use of the clay mold by skilled mint masters. In the post-Gupta period, not only the quality of the gold coins fell, but also the numbers of the gold coins being issued dropped drastically. Due to the systematic economic distresses, town-based artisans producing good quality of the coins were forced to migrate to the countryside, causing the decline of the craft production and the decay of the townships. Without the urban centers and foreign trade, and with the increasing decentralization of the political power, which had resulted from urban to rural migration of artisans, the excellence of the Gupta numismatic art could not be sustained or recreated in times that followed. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி முடிச்சிடலாம். இந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப யூனிக்கான கொஸ்டின்ஸ். இதுல டயக்ராம் போடலாம், வரைய தெரிஞ்சா நம்ம வந்து குப்தாவோட நியூஸ்மேட்டிக் கைன்ஸ் மீனா வரைஞ்சதை போட்டு ரைட் சைட்ல வரையலாம். கண்டிப்பா அதுல வந்து யாரோட காயின்ஸ்ங்கிறத எழுதணும் கீழே. அடுத்த கொஸ்டின் நம்பர் 2 பாருங்க. Clarify how mid-18th century India was best with respect with the specter of fragmented polity. The first half of the 18th century witnessed the decline and the disintegration of the mighty Mughal Empire and the rise of virtually independent regional powers. Lack of strong central authority and the emergence of regional power weakened the political structure that led to the rise of foreign power. Factors that could be considered to play potent role in fragmented polity were the Mughal court saw a host of weak emperors in succession, emperors who were incapable to command the glorious empire and would rather indulge in wasteful extravagance of pomp and show. Courtrooms became the kingmaker's ground for treachery and war of accession became the recurrent. A number of powerful kingdoms such as Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad and Mysore arose and became virtually independent from the Mughal Empire. The weakened Mughal Empire was challenged by the Marathas' time, and again Marathas captured was swath of territories in northern and central India. The remaining illusions of the continued dominations of the Mughal power was shattered by Nadir Shah of Persia invasion in 1939. Afghan ruler Ahmad Shah Abdali also made frequent inroads into Punjab and finally took over Delhi in 1756-57. Marathas, who were considered as only contenders to fill the power vacuum in Delhi, were defeated by the Abdali forces in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. There was the war did not decide who will rule India, but who would not. After these series of the events, the Mughal Empire ceased to exist as an all-India empire in practice. The British took advantage of the entire situation. They defeated the forces of Bengal in Patna, Plassey, and finally combined the forces of Bengal. Awadh and Mughal were crushed in Patna, Buxar. So, இதுதான் ரெண்டாவது கொஸ்டின் ஆன்சர். இன்னைக்கு கேட்டிருக்காங்க மிட் 18th செஞ்சுரினா 1750s இருக்கக்கூடியது. இன்னும் இதுல என்ன எழுதணும்னா ஃபிராக்மெண்டட் பாலிட்டியை பத்தி பேசணும்னா பேட்லா பிளாசியை பத்தி பேசலாம். 1757ல ராபர்ட் கிளைவுக்கும் சிராஜ் உத் தௌலா பெங்கால் நவாபுக்கும் நடந்த பேட்டில பத்தி சொல்லலாம். அதே மாதிரி நம்ம கர்நாடிக் ரீஜன்ல ஆர்காட் நவாபுக்கும் பிரிட்டிஷ் பிரெஞ்சுக்கும் நடந்த பேட்டில்ஸை பத்தி பேசலாம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார், செகண்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார், தேர்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார் வந்து 1746 48 வரையும் இருக்கும். செகண்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார் 1749 இருந்து 53 வரையும் இருக்கும். தேர்ட் கர்நாடிக் வார் வந்து 1756 இருந்து 63 வரையும் இருக்கும். இந்த இதெல்லாம் ஆட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Question number 3 என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்கன்னா, why did the moderates fail to carry conviction with the nation about their proclaimed ideology and political goals by the end of the 19th century? The moderates were not against the British rule per se and had strong belief in sense of justice and the goodness of the British rule. They pursued the policy of the gradualism and the constitutionalism. Constitutional reforms, administrative reorganization, and the protection of the civil rights were high on agenda, and the methods of prayer, petition, and protest were followed. Moderates met limited success in later stages due to the various reasons. The political jargons used by the moderates are alien to uneducated masses. There was also a lack of political faith in the masses. Thus, people largely remained aloof. It was gradually realized that British did not concede to any of the major demands of the moderates. Indian Councils Act 1892 was criticized. Moves such as further amplification of the repressive laws under IPC and reduction in numbers of the members in Calcutta Corporation didn't go down well with progressive elements in INC. Political ideologists of moderates were claimed to be inefficient. Methods followed by moderates were described as political mendicancy. The result was emergence of a more militant school of thought. However, the role of moderates can also not be neglected. They were first to create the national awakening among the Indians and prepared a solid ground for mass-oriented national movement. At large, later stages was followed. இதை பத்தி பேசலாம். முதல்ல இந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்டாங்கன்னா என்ன பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா, மாடரேட் அப்படிங்கிறது 1885 இருந்து 1905 வரைக்கும் எழுதணும். அவங்க வந்து அவங்களோட ஐடியாலஜி, அவங்களோட பொலிட்டிக்கல் கோல்ஸை பத்தி நம்ம அனலைஸ் பண்ற அளவுக்கு கெப்பாசிட்டி இருக்கணும். அதை பத்தி நம்ம படிச்சிருக்கணும். டீடைல்ல சைடு ஹெட்டிங் போட்டு எழுதுனீங்கன்னா இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் நல்லா இருக்கும். சப் ஹெட்டிங் போட்டு எழுதுங்க, ஆன்சர்ஸ் நல்லா எழுதலாம். What problems were germane to the decolonization process in the Malay Peninsula? Malay Peninsula is the world history question கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Malay Peninsula was under the British influence since they first came in the late 18th century, looking toward Southeast Asia for new resources. Since then, the British East India Company traded and partly controlled the region. The growth of the China trade further increased the company's desire for bases in region near it. The decolonization of the Malay Peninsula was an extension of the series of the decolonization movements going across the Asia and Africa. It was influenced from process which speeded up after the World War II. Malay Peninsula was a multi-racial, multicultural society with Malay, Chinese and Indians forming major ethnic and linguistic groups, which was a suitable condition for colonial powers for consolidate their regime. All of the Singapore and Japanese advances in Malay Peninsula during the World War II forced the British to consider reassessment of the non-interventionist policy in favor of ethnic cooperation and multi-racial government in this region. But with the presence of the diverse interests of the different groups, reaching to a consensus was a task. Cold War ideological rivalry was prevalent in the Malayan Peninsula too, where with the use of Comintern-aligned communist parties like the Malayan Communist Party and Chinese Communist Organization, the fear of Malayan Peninsula falling to the communist emerged. It was a nightmare of the liberal democracies, colonial powers, which ensured the transfer of power to the ideologically friendly regimes. The decolonization of the Malayan Peninsula was largely a result of the long reconciliation process between the Malayan nationalists and the European colonial powers. Their mutual compromises gave the British the confidence to speed up the process of decolonization through the smooth decolonization process. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி இந்த மலாய் பெனின்சுலா இதுக்கு மேப் போடணும். மேப்ல வந்து சவுத் ஏஷியா மேப்ல மலேசியா மேப் போடணும். மலேசியா, சிங்கப்பூர், இந்த இந்தோனேஷியா இருக்கக்கூடிய மாதிரி ஒரு மேப் போட்டு அவங்க என்ன இருந்துச்சு இயர் வயசு எழுதுறது நல்லா இருக்கும். How does the Juno mission NASA help to understand the origin and evolution of the Earth? Juno mission. It is the principal goal to understanding the origin and the evolution of the Jupiter. The Juno spacecraft NASA was launched in 2011. Juno will study Jupiter much more thoroughly, given the array of the 9 scientific instruments that it carries on board. The huge gas planet was likely the first planet formed and had a major impact on the formation of the other planets. Like our sun, Jupiter is composed primarily of the hydrogen and helium, but it is also imbued with the other heavy elements of the fundamental to the creation of the territorial planets. By studying the atmosphere on Jupiter, we can get an unprecedented insight into the origins and most importantly on the origins atmosphere, which may also help explain the how Earth got its water. To summarize, we can expect a wealth of information about Jupiter's inner workings in the months and years to come. In discovering Jupiter, we ourselves அப்படின்னு சொல்லி முடிச்சிடலாம். இந்த கொஸ்டின் வந்து அந்த வருஷம் கண்டுபிடிச்சார் ஜூனோ மிஷன். ஜூனோ மிஷன்ங்கிறது ஜேங்கிறது நமக்கு தெரியணும், நல்லா தெரியணும். இது என்ன ஜூபிட்டருக்கான விஷயங்கிறது நமக்கு தெரியணும். எக்ஸ்ப்ளோரேஷன் மிஷன் இதுல என்னன்னா நம்ம ஸ்பேஸ் பிளானட்டை பத்தி பார்க்கும்போது எர்த்தோட ஆரிஜின், எர்த்தோட இன்டீரியர், எர்த்தோட திங்ஸ் தான் நமக்கு தெரிய வரும். Question number 6. In spite of adverse environmental impact, coal mining is still inevitable for the development. Discuss. India's coal resource, fourth largest in the world, provide it with the cheap source of energy. However, the mining of the coal causes several damage to the environment. Pollution due to exposure of the mining waste to air and water. Coal mining results in methane emissions, a powerful greenhouse gas. Fires from the underground mine can burn for years, releasing smoke containing carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. Deforestation, when trees are cut down or burned for clearing the way for coal mining. Despite the damage caused by the coal mining, it is expected to contribute to the dominant share to India's electricity production for decades to come. Even with the annual growth rates above 10%, the share of the renewable sources in India is unlikely to reach over 10% of the energy mix before 2040. Solar energy still provides only about 1% of the electricity generated in the country. India's reliance on coal is expected to persist even in 2040s, with an envisaged share of 42% to 50% in energy mix, a lower growth of trajectory of renewable energy in view of the challenges and uncertainty of the prices, storage cost, grid connectivity, and parity make it over ambitious to expect them to be central for India's development. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி இந்த கொஸ்டின் ஆன்சர் எழுதிடலாம். கோல் மைனிங்கிறது இந்தியாவோட மொத்த டிமாண்ட்ல 50% எனர்ஜி டிமாண்ட் வந்து கோல் எனர்ஜி மட்டும் தான் நமக்கு சாட்டிஸ்ஃபை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ கோலோட டிமாண்ட் நாளுக்கு நாள் அதிகமாயிட்டு இருக்கு. அதுக்கு ஆல்டர்னேட் என்னதான் ரெடி பண்ணாலும் நம்ம இன்னமும் கோல் மைனிங் தான் நம்ம டிபெண்ட் பண்ணிருக்க வேண்டியதா இருக்கு. ஸோ அதுதான் இந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ்க்கான ஆன்சர் இது முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. கொஸ்டின் நம்பர் 7 என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்கன்னா, மென்ஷன் த அட்வான்டேஜஸ் ஆஃப் த கல்டிவேஷன் ஆஃப் த பல்ஸ் because of which the year 2016 was declared as the International Year of Pulses by the United Nations. Despite the strong evidence of the health and nutrition benefits of the pulses, its consumption remains low in many developing and developed countries. Therefore, the United Nations declared the year 2016 as the International Year of Pulses to heighten public awareness of the nutritional benefits of the pulses as part of the sustainable food production aimed towards food security and nutrition. Advantages on the cultivation of the pulses. Pulses are able to increase biodiversity as they are able to mix their own nitrogen into soil. It increases soil fertility. Introducing pulses into the crop production can be key to increasing resilience in climate change. Pulses also offer a great potential to lift farmers out of the rural poverty as they can yield two to three times higher prices than the cereals. And their processing provides additional economic opportunities, especially for women. Pulses are powerful ally in achieving the food security. They are economically affordable, can be grown in dry environments and have low food wastage footprint as they can be stored for long periods without spoiling. Therefore, pulses contribute to significance in addressing the hunger, food security, malnutrition, environmental challenges, and human health, and also a vital source of plant-based proteins and amino acids. How does cryosphere affect the global climate? அப்படின்னு கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Cryosphere is the frozen water part of the earth system. Snow cover, permafrost, sea ice, it impacts global climate in a variety of the ways. Snow and ice have higher albedo, reflecting back a significant amount of the solar radiation back into the space. In this way, cryosphere acts as an important cooling factor in the global climate system. Snow and ice act as an insulating layer over land and ocean surfaces, holding in the heat and moisture that would otherwise escape into the atmosphere. This insulation then also acts to cool the global climate. Since the cold polar sea water is dense due to its salinity and sinks into the bottom of the ocean, spreading across the globe and acting as a pump which derives oceanic cultivation that transfers energy between the equator and the poles, acting as a conveyor belt. The cryosphere is highly vulnerable to global warming. Therefore, any change in its composition is likely to have great side effects on the global climate. In the context of the diversity of the India, can it to be said that the regions from the cultural units rather than states? Give reasons with the examples for your viewpoint. India has been a country of the multiple diversities like linguistic, religious and cultural diversity since ancient times. After the independence, various demands of the reorganization of the states on the basis of the various aspirations comprising the cultural similarity, linguistic identity and others emerged from different parts of India. Though the government reorganized various states and also formed new states, but cultural units have been, in fact, India till this day. Recently, Chat Parva has been celebrated in Purvanchal region, which comprises the eastern end of the Uttar Pradesh and western end of the Bihar, where the Hindu, Urdu and its dialects Awadhi and Bhojpuri are the predominant languages. Population living in Green Revolution area that comprises Punjab, Haryana and West Uttar Pradesh practices nearly same traditions and represents single cultural unit. Influence of the Dravidian culture can be seen across the South Indian states. Food habit of people living in these states in similar wedding rituals are the same. Northeastern regions comprising 8 states represents a single cultural unit in terms of the traditions. Rice fish culture has also been practiced across all coastal regions in different states. It shows that cultural units in India are not necessarily concurrent with the states and beyond the boundaries of the formal divisions of the states. Society question diversity, unity and diversity பத்தி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. பியூர்லி சப்ஜெக்டிவ், நம்ம ஒவ்வொருத்தவங்களை பத்தி கேட்டிருக்கக்கூடிய கொஸ்டின் இது. ரீஜனல் கல்ச்சுரல் யூனிட்டி பத்தி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. ஸோ இது ஸ்டேட்ஸுக்கும் ஸ்டேட்ஸ்க்குள்ள இருக்கக்கூடிய கல்ச்சுரல் யூனிட்டி ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டேட் வைஸ் கல்ச்சுரல் யூனிட்டி இல்லாம தனித்தனியா இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, எழுதிருக்காங்க. What are the two major legal initiatives by the state since the independence addressing the discrimination against scheduled tribes? Scheduled tribes in India, due to the developmental displacement and in the absence of the proper rehabilitation initiative, have faced the cultural discrimination and the socio-political and the economic exploitation. Due to lack of education and skills for decades, these tribes continue to be oppressed at the hands of the larger society. To undo these injustices and to safeguard tribal rights, the government undertook several constitutional and legal initiatives, significant among which have been Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention Atrocities 2015, Panchayat Extension to the Scheduled Areas 1996, the SC/ST POA Prevention of Atrocities Act 2015 prohibits the commission of offences against the members of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, SC and STs, and established special courts for the trial of such offences and the rehabilitation of the victims, thereby preventing any potential social discrimination faced by the SC and STs. PESA improves the scheduled tribes to safeguard and preserve their traditions and customs, their cultural identity, community resources, and also their customary modes of the dispute resolution, thereby helping them from being vulnerable at the hands of the larger society and also protecting their identity and culture from the onslaught of the dominant culture. These two legal initiatives have perhaps played the greatest role in addressing the concerns and in protecting the rights of the cultures of the various tribal groups in India. The spirit of tolerance and love is not only an interesting feature of the Indian society from very early time, but it is also playing an important part of the present elaborated. Spirit of tolerance and love in Indian society can be defined as the harmony and assimilation which can be observed among the diverse communities of the country. The spirit can clearly be seen in the ancient world, where a king Asoka renounced all violence and war and took to preaching Dhamma, the special religion of love and peace. There we can see that continuously through the history, India has been home to the people of diverse at the Hunas, Parthians, Greeks, Scythians, Turks, and later on the Mughals. Though some of them may have come to the country as the invaders, they did not, or rather could not, see India as an enemy. The result has been a tremendous assimilation of races, languages, and culture, a process that is continuing still. In fact, something similar had already taken a place 1,000 years earlier when the Aryan-speaking people had migrated into the country, forever shaping the destiny of the country and its post-Harappan people. They was in the spirit of the tolerance and love that perhaps was created some of the world's most majestic work of art. Example, Taj Mahal, the most original of interpretations on the meaning, on the philosophy of the life, that is, Upanishads, and created the most simple and honest form of the devotion of the Almighty. Example, Bhakti and Sufism. Thankfully, due to the presence of the spirit in our society, so far we have been able to reflect rationally and peacefully the most of the problems that we are currently facing. Then one of the global front, India exerts on citizens of the world a great unifying force. This is in the form of non-violence, ahimsa, peaceful coexistence, non-alignment movement, in pledging protection of the global commons. Paris Climate Pact, the rights of the man, democracy and human rights, and to universal nuclear disarmament, etc. If one day India has to shine in the committee of the nations, if Indians have to truly get involved in the making of a better world, and if someday we have to get rid of tragic things like poverty, pollution, crime, and terrorism, etc., we will have to share the spirit of love and tolerance and spread it to all human societies across the world. Question number 12. Examine how decline of the traditional artisanal industry in colonial India crippled the rural economy. When the Britishers took over, the traditional Indian artisans ruled the world and supplied about a quarter of all manufactured goods produced in the world as famously quoted by the Peter the Great, the commerce of India was the commerce of the world. Nationalist economists proposed that with the beginning of the British rule in mid-19th century, the process of deindustrialization started for the traditional artisans industry. They various reasons for the war. The colonial rule of flooded Indian market with cheaper manufactured goods against which India handicrafts lost to the competition. The colonial rule also opened Indian markets with the zero import tax, which went in favor of British manufactured goods. Moreover, Indian goods were severely restricted in foreign markets due to various regulations and taxes leading to the loss of market. Artisans also suffered at the hands of the colonial power by having to spread agree exploitative terms. The English carried on the put out system of manufacture where the artisans were supplied with the material and the finished product was brought at low price. The English also procured raw cotton from peasants at a low price and sold it exploited rates to the artisans. Thus, the artisans suffered both as a buyer and a seller. With the advent of railways in mid-18th century onwards, the process of deindustrialization was further fastened by colonial economic and commercial penetration into the hinterlands of India. Hinterlands of India. This not only eroded the prosperous income base for millions of the Indian artisans, but eroded labor productivity of the Indian agriculture. But to crowding and the twin pillars of the traditional Indian rural economy were completely crumbled. Thus, in short span of just 200 years, in 1757 to 1947, the Indian rural economy, which was self-sustained and prosperous for ages, was completely crippled. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி இந்த கொஸ்டின் முடிச்சிடலாம். Question number 13. Highlight the importance of the new objectives of the God added the vision of the Indian independence in the 20s of the last century. The 20s of the last century was the watershed movement for the Indian national movement. With the emergence of the new scenarios and the actors that proven that movement became the true mass movement, the decade started on the backdrop of the Russian Revolution and the emergence of the communism as an alternate to imperialism, which presented a new ray of the hope for the colonies undergoing struggle for independence. The rise of socialist and communist in India, the issue of the peasants and workers became an important objective of the Indian independence. Mahatma Gandhi returned to India in 1915 and with some initial experiments of the limited scale in Champaran, Kedah and Ahmedabad. Finally, in the early 20s, he was all set to take the leadership of the Indian national movement and change the vision of India's independence. Starting with the non-cooperation movement in the early 20s, he led the civil disobedience movement in the early 30s and finally quit India in the early 40s. In these years, Indian national movement transformed from movement of the new middle class to the movement. The objection of the independence became the Swaraj and Sarvodaya, where the fruit of independence was to be tasted by the last man standing in row and not near the transfer of the power from one set of while elites to another Indian elites. After 20s, the goal of political independence was gradually broadened by the constructive program, where the issues of the untouchability and the Hindu-Muslim unity were also considered as important goals. Fundamental rights and economic policy was shaped during Karachi session in 1931. Hence, the vision of Indian independence was broadened in scale and scope after the 20s of the last century. Account for variations in oceanic salinity and discuss the multi-dimensional effects. Salinity refers to the amount of salt dissolved in 1000 grams of the sea water. It is usually expressed as parts per 1000 or ppt. The salinity of the normal open ocean ranges from 33 parts per 1000 and 37 parts per 1000. Ocean salinity varies significantly due to the free movement of the ocean water, and its distribution has two aspects. Horizontal, The areas of the highest salinity, about 37 parts per thousand in Atlantic Ocean, are found near the tropics due to the active evaporation moving to clear skies, high temperature and steady trade winds. From the tropical areas, salinity decreases more towards the equator and towards the poles. Salinity is relatively low near the equator, about 33 parts per thousand in the Atlantic Ocean due to high rainfall, high relative humidity, cloudiness, and calm air of the doldrums. In polar seas, salinity between 22 to 32 parts per thousand due to very little evaporation and due to melting ice yielding test water. Vertical general salinity decreases with increasing depth. Surface water is more saline due to the loss of water from evaporation. This varies greatly on the latitudes and it is influenced by the cold and warm current. In higher latitudes, salinity increases with the depth, and it is in middle latitudes, it increases up to 30 meters and then decreases. The multidimensional effect of the ocean salinity are follows. Salinity determines compressibility, thermal expansion, temperature density, density evaporation, the absorption of the insulation, evaporation, and humidity. Salinity and the water cycle. Water in liquid state dissolves rock and sediments, which creates a complex solution of mineral salts in ocean basins. Conversely, in other states such as vapor and ice, water and salt are incompatible, and water vapor and ice are essentially salt-free. By tracking ocean surface salinity, we can practically monitor variations in water cycle, land runoff, ice freezing and melting, and evaporation and precipitation over the ocean. Salinity, ocean circulation, and climate. Ocean circulation in deep waters is primarily driven by changes in seawater density, which is determined by salinity and temperature. In the North Atlantic, near Greenland, cooled high salinity surface waters can become dense enough to sink to great depth. Salinity and climate density. The ocean stores more heat in the uppermost 3 meters than the entire atmosphere. Thus, density enrolled in circulation, key to transporting heat in the ocean and maintaining the earth climates. Excess heat associated with the increase in the global temperature during the last century is being observed and moved by the ocean. Ocean also influences the distribution of the fish and the marine resources. NASA studies suggest that seawater is getting fresh water in higher latitude, while saltier in subtropical latitude. This will significantly impact not only ocean circulation but also climate in we live. சொல்லியிருக்காங்க ஓசன் salinity பத்தி பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஓசன் salinity நார்மலா 1000 grams of sea waterல எவ்வளவு சால்ட் வாட்டர் இருக்கு அப்படிங்கறத பார்க்கணும். அதோட வெயிட் பார்க்கிறது. நார்மலா salinity எவ்வளவு இருக்குன்னா 33 parts per thousand 37 parts per thousand இருக்கணும். அது ஹரிசாண்டல் வெர்டிகல்னு சொல்லலாம். இது ரெண்டுக்கும் டயக்ராம் போடணும். அந்த டயக்ராம் போட்டோம்னா உங்களுக்கு நல்லா இருக்கும். For example, the horizontal என்ன சொல்லியிருக்காங்கன்னா the high salinity Atlantic Oceanல 37 parts per thousand இருக்கு. அது வந்து டிராபிக்ஸ்ல இருக்கு. ஆனா ஹை டெம்பரேச்சர் அண்ட் ஸ்டடி ட்ரேட் விண்டனால அப்படி இருக்கு. டிராபிக்கல் ஏரியாஸ்ல salinity வந்து டிக்ரீஸ் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கு. ஈக்குவேட்டர் போற வழியிலையும் அண்ட் டுவர்ட்ஸ் போல் போற வழியிலையும். ஏன்னா salinity ஈக்குவேட்டர்ல ரொம்ப ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கும். ஏன்னா ரொம்ப மழை பெய்யும், ஹை ரெயின்ஃபால், ஹை ரிலேட்டிவ் ஹியூமிடிட்டியா இருக்கும், கிளவுடினஸ் காம் ஏரா இருக்கும். போல் ஏரியாஸ்ல salinity ரொம்ப டிக்ரீஸ் ஆயிரும். ஏன்னா வெரி லிட்டில் எவாபரேஷன் டியூ டு தி மெல்டிங் ஐஸ், ஃப்ரெஷ் வாட்டர் இருக்கும். ஃப்ரெஷ் வாட்டர் இருக்கனால அந்த ஹரிசாண்டலா அப்படி இருக்கும். வெர்டிகலா பாத்தீங்கன்னா salinity டெப்த் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகும், salinity இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகும். சர்ஃபேஸ் ரொம்ப saline due to the loss of water evaporation. அது ஒவ்வொரு லேட்டிடியூடும் மாறிட்டே இருக்கும். கோல்ட் அண்ட் வார்ம் கரண்ட்டுக்கு ஹையர் லேட்டிடியூட்ல salinity இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கும். டெப்த் அண்ட் மிடில் லேட்டிடியூட்ல இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கும். இதான் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. இது மட்டும் இல்லாம salinityக்கு நிறைய வாட்டர் சைக்கிள் இருக்கு, ஓஷன் சர்க்குலேஷன் இருக்கு, salinityக்கும் கிளைமேட் டென்சிட்டிக்கும் வித்தியாசம் இருக்கு. ஸோ இதெல்லாம் சேர்ந்துதான் salinity பத்தி டிட்டர்மைன் பண்ணுது. அடுத்து நம்ம பார்க்க போறது பெட்ரோலியம் refineries are not necessarily located near to crude oil producing areas, particularly in many of the developing countries. Explain its implications. Oil refineries usually in developing countries and built away from the oil producing areas. The implication of which are both negative and positive, environmental and economic cost. Positive implications. Refineries tend to situated closer to the markets or distribution centers as it helps in having transport cost of the refined product, because transport cost of the refined products tended to be higher than the transporting crude, as refined products lose weight through the evaporation during the transporting. Since the pipeline transfer of the refined products in India uh, is is only with the private companies, it is not only evenly distributed, making transportation through the method of difficult. When refineries are far away from the market, other modes of the transport for refined products like the railways, road and waterways always increases the economic as well as environmental cost, air pollution. Since oil producing areas have limited oil producing capacity, that investments in setting up a refinery in the vicinity can go to waste once oil in the area dries up. Hence, it becomes economical to set up refineries near the markets where a continuous consumer demand keeps it viable for longer durations of time. Refineries also need abundant source of water for cooling purposes, for discharge of the waste, and hence environmental concerns make refineries viable only where there are sufficient water resources available. Promote decentralized industrial growth and balance regional development. Seaboard location eases the export of the petrochemical products. Negative implications. Having crude transport to large distances add to the environmental pollution and economic cost. Also, it does not incentivize further exploration and setting up oil producing areas, as it does not attract the industrial investments. Question number 16. In what way can floods be converted into sustainable source of irrigation and all weather inland navigation in India? Indian experience of monsoon for a period of 4 months, during which sometimes increased rains cause flood and devastation, while for the rest of the year it remains dry for most ports, often resulting in water shortages. The excess flood water can surely be used as a valuable source in water scarce regions for non-monsoon months, thereby solving the twin problems of the flood and water scarcity. The following methods can be used to achieve the objective. The river linking. The government has been ambitious with this project of diverting excess water from the overflowing rivers to the rivers in non-permeable regions. In order to solve the problems of the flood and water shortage, these rivers linking channels could also be useful as all-weather inland navigation waterways, thereby helping in creating the cheap and pollution-free mode of transport. Rainwater harvesting. The excess water can be captured and stored in wells, tanks, etc. during the rains, as was practiced in many parts of India during medieval period in form of step wells and bowies, etc. Multi-purpose project dams. Dams can be erected in flood areas to capture excess water, which can then be released slowly over the year as per the irrigation requirements. Inundation canals and wires. Flood water can also be managed by making the diversions through the inundation canals, small irrigation structures, and with their wires that take away excess water to the agriculture field. The methods stated above can go a long way in solving various water woes of India if implemented expeditiously and on a large scale. What characteristics can be assigned to monsoon climate that succeeds in feeding more than 50% of the world population residing in monsoon Asia? Some parts of the world experience seasonal winds like land and sea breeze, but do so on much larger scale. There are tropical monsoon lands with onshore wind monsoons in the summer and offshore by dry monsoon in the winter. There are best developed in Indian subcontinent, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, parts of South China, and northern Australia. Characteristics of the monsoon climate: temperature, precipitation, distinct monsoon. First, temperature. Monthly mean temperature in monsoon climate is about 18 degrees Celsius, but temperature ranges from 15 to 45 degrees Celsius in summer, 15 to 30 degrees Celsius in winters. The temperature range helps in cultivating various crops such as wheat and rice, staple crop for the large population in the world. Precipitation, monsoon is associated with the high precipitation. Annual mean rainfall ranges from 200 to 250 centimeters, but varies according to the intensity of the seasonal winds. It also helps in paddy cultivation. Distinct seasons are chief characteristics of the monsoon climate. Distinct seasons have been observed with the movement of the sun between the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. It facilitates the cultivation of the various types of the crops. The cool, dry season, outblowing dry winds, the northeast monsoon bring little or no rain to the Indian subcontinent. It has been observed during the October to February. The hot dry season, temperature rises sharply with the sun's northward shift to the Tropic of Cancer. Coastal regions are little related to the sea breezes. Rainy season has been observed during mid-June to September, with the burst of the southwest monsoon in mid-June. Torrential downpours sweep across the country. Almost all the rain for the year falls within the rainy season. The pattern of the concentrated heavy rainfall in summer is characteristic feature of the tropical monsoon climate. The retreating monsoon, the amount and frequency of the rain decreases towards the end of the rainy season. It retreats gradually southwards after mid-September until it leaves the continent altogether. The role of monsoon is vital in economy of the major parts of the world because it is the main source of the irrigation in rain-fed areas and facilitated in feeding more than 50% of the world population residing in monsoon Asia. The women's questions arose in India, women in India as part of the 19th century social reform movement. What are the major issues and debates concerning women in the period? Society women in the 19th century, the problems of the women in India invited the attention of the Western humanitarian thinkers, Christian missionaries, and Indian socio-religious philosophers. Many issues related to women prevalent during 19th century were discussed thoroughly. The social-religious philosophers protested evil practices such as sati, child marriage, prohibition of widow remarriage, polygamy, dowry, and Devadasi system. Their view were strengthened when Christian missionaries exposed the evils of such social customs. Further, some of the enlightened British officials in India and England also initiated measures to remove these social evils. Pandita Ramabai, Savitribai Phule, Tarabai Sinde, Arvind Bhai Joshi, and Sarojini Naidu, and many other enlightened women came forward to liberate the rest of the women. The practice of the sati was prohibited officially in 1829 in Bengal with the active participation of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and in the Madras in 1830. Reformers reinterpreted the Shastras in favor of the widow remarriage. In 1855, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar started a vigorous campaign in favor of the widow remarriage. To summarize, the issues of the women in the 19th century are mainly related to the social upliftment of the women in Indian society. Efforts were on to empower women that included social reforms and economic self-reliance. Question number 19. Distinguish between the religiousness, religiosity, communalism, giving one example of how the former has transformed into later in independent India. Religiousness or religiosity is the quality of the being religious, pious and devout. In other words, it is known as the having strong religious feeling or the belief. Through the ages, India society has been spiritual and religious, and in its connotation, Dharma has been the guiding force of the Indian civilization by setting the standards for personal and social life. However, communalism is a negative connotation which indicates the political creed in the religion. It is an ideology on which communal politics is based and consists of three elements. A belief that people of the same religion have common secular interest. They have same political, economic and social interest. So they can be segregated as a distinct socio-political community. It indicates that in multi-religious society like India, the common secular interest of the one religion is dissimilar and divergent from the interest of another religion. The interest of the follower of the different religion or different communities are seen to be completely incompatible, antagonist and hostile. In independent India, the Ayodhya issue where constructions of the temple or masjid has been constantly evoked to reach the political mileage in the country where the deep religious sentiments of the different communities are attached year after year and election after election, this issue has been evoked to polarize the communities. On religious lines for the electoral gain, the cost of delicate social fabric of the multi-religious and multicultural India. Question number 20. The growth of cities as IT hubs have opened a new avenue of the employment but also created the new problems. Sustainable this statement with the examples. Cities like the Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai, Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, NCR grew significantly and fastidiously in the last two quotes, owing to the growth in IT-related service sector. The employment provided by the IT sector agrees with the middle class values and aspirations, further boosting the relevance and the importance of these IT hubs and further causing inward irrigation to these destinations. Since these IT hubs employ a considerable number of the people and since they attract a host of the related and unrelated services needed to cater to daily needs of these employees, it causes the twin problems of overpopulation and overcrowding. The result is that the municipal services get overstretched, housing prices soar, traffic gets congested, prices of essential commodities inflate, and most importantly, social tensions develop and increase. Sometimes civil and political police administrative machineries are also put to rest to the test in these cities, especially in the bigger cities like the Delhi NCR, where IT hubs create the sub-localities within the city. Policing power is seen decreasing proportionately to the size and the scale of the locality policing requirements. This is why problems like the crimes against women, child abduction, racial, religious, mob violence happen with the great influence in the such places. Lastly, the growth of the cities as IT hubs creates the problems with the pollution, waste disposal, and energy management. Also, e-waste generation and it is associated harms. Also, the strain that IT infrastructure put on the electric grid are much bigger challenge than one would like to admit. And the only way forward is to follow sustainable development practices while developing the IT hubs. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி இந்த கொஸ்டினை முடிச்சிடலாம். இதுக்கப்புறம் உள்ளதெல்லாம் பேப்பர் 2ல இருக்கக்கூடிய கொஸ்டின்ஸ் எல்லாம் பார்க்கலாம். பேப்பர் 1 பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நமக்கு ஆர்ட் அண்ட் கல்ச்சரா இருக்கட்டும், ஹிஸ்டரியா இருக்கட்டும், இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஏதோ டயக்ராம் போட பாருங்க, இல்ல மேப் போட பாருங்க. இந்த டயக்ராம் அண்ட் மேப் போடும்போது நமக்கான ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ் அதிகமா இருக்கும். எக்ஸாம்ஸ்ல நமக்கு நல்ல மார்க் வாங்குறதுக்கான ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ் நிறைய இருக்கும். ஸோ டயக்ராம்ஸ், மேப், சின்ன சின்ன ஃபேக்ட், கிராஃப், ஜியாகிரபில நிறைய கிராஃப் போடலாம். இப்போ சலைனடி கேட்டிருந்தாங்கல்ல, வெர்டிகல், ஹரிசாண்டல், அது மாதிரியான கிராஃப் எல்லாம் போடலாம். ஸோ இது மாதிரியான வேலைகளை பாருங்க. அடுத்த கிளாஸ்ல பார்ப்போம். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.